We have a huge winter update on Sorare, and of course I'll give you my thoughts on every single little section of it. But overall, unlike a normal YouTuber, I'll just give you my honest opinions on it right now. Ultimately, it's great, there's some updates, there's some changes, but from what I see, from a surface level here, there's nothing really crucial. Maybe one piece, but there's nothing really crucial that's going to really improve the game or really going to make the game worse. I see it more as a dice game where there's a load of dice in a box. It was fine. They've shaken it up and they're putting it down. And people that wanted sixes and there's more sixes are going to be happy, but people that wanted ones and there's now less ones are going to be unhappy. Now, you'll understand that definition a little bit more when I get into it piece by piece. But for me, I'm surprised how large of an update this is, and ultimately there's a lot of it, but maybe not too much crucial information, so let's go through it. And off the bat, we have Dan from Sorare, the main man, explaining a lot of the key updates. Dan really doesn't get enough praise for what he does and how much effort he puts into Sorare, but ultimately they start off exceedingly strong, and when I said there's a lot of nothingness, or what I implied there was a lot of nothingness in this update, this immediate start is the exact opposite of this. This is the big hitter. They know how to write an article. The MLS is back with its own dedicated competition. What do I think of that? I think it's fantastic. I think the more dedicated competitions we have, the better it works. You know, when you have Celtic dominating the league and smashing it, and then you have, I don't know, a really competitive league like the Championship, and they're playing in the same league, and it's not like for like. The more like for like you can get, the more fun Sorare is going to be, the more competitive it's going to be. And as a league expert or as someone that enjoys that league, you get to, take advantage of it. You can buy players you like. You can see players up and coming. So overall, I think it's a really good move. I see a lot of people excited about it. I think they should be. It moves out of the Challenger League. It's no longer a league at all. I've seen a little bit of criticism of that. Why can't I play them elsewhere? I think that's how it should be. And keep in mind, I really don't see this as, how do my gallery benefit? What should I do? I see this as trying to be a Sorare perspective. Obviously, everyone's biased in their own ways, conscious bias, unconscious bias. But for me, I'm a pure Premier League champion Europe manager. Why can I play 3 Premier League lineups, and if I have extra cards or whatever, drop them into Champion? It doesn't really make sense. Like, I know it's fun to have everyone in Champion, and PSG do well one week, Bayern do well the other week, sometimes all the teams do well. It's fun, but from a pure competitive aspect, I prefer it as niche as you can get, but also interesting at the same time. So MLS makes sense. Removing it from Challenger or whatever also makes sense. It doesn't make sense in another degree because it's the only league where you can't play in a bigger competition. We'll get onto that. And then we have another update specifically for the MLS, which is clearly probably a trial run of introducing cap modes again, or what do they call it? Beat the game systems. I'll touch on that in a second. I'll just go so it's easier for me to follow on the updated competition structure. It's good. It's probably the way it should have been done. I think the Argentinian, Brazilian League, Mexican, Peru, Chile as well, actually. Just looking at the flags there. They've all dropped out of, they're all in the same league now, essentially. It makes a lot more sense. Time zones, competitiveness, fine. Now, where I'm saying, people that wanted ones will be upset. People that wanted sixes will be happy. If you had a contender, really, strong team, now has more competition. Challenger has one less person. Doesn't matter. Yes and no. Like, you want to split them as fairly as possible. It's nearly impossible to split those leagues. I don't want to get into it. Like I said, it will annoy some people. It will benefit some people. Just from a logical sense, them being on the same time zone makes more sense. It's champion, challenger, contender, and at least now champion makes complete sense. Challenger makes more sense that they're all European. Contender, sort of best of the rest. Like, they probably don't want all of those leagues there. I don't know if they'd get rid of all of them. Almost besides the point again. Ultimately, yeah, it's just a different way to cut a cake, basically. But now, not a different way to cut a cake, bringing back an old cake, which caused a lot of problems before, beat the game. I'll see so much positives for this. A lot of people will love it. I'll just be real with it here. A beat the game is only going to be 2 varieties. It's going to be too easy, they're going to lose too much money, and it's going to get rid of it, and they're going to screw everyone that tried to play it. We've seen that before. Or it's going to be a nothing burger. Okay, yeah, it's reasonably hard enough to hit, whatever. Sometimes you hit it, sometimes you don't. No one really cares about it. So for me, this decision to bring it back makes no sense. They saw how many issues it brought. And the problem is, it's like user sentiment. If you're doing something that gives them a lot of money and you take that away, people will be annoyed. And alternatively, if you give them something that they kind of care about, it's alright, but not really that great, but you're using capital which could be better deployed elsewhere, and by capital, let's be more clear, I'm talking about rewards, maybe not worth it. Like, it was a very surprising decision. I didn't see anyone suggest a, beat the game or capped mode would be returning. And maybe it's for that reason. Like, I have no doubt people will love it. Now, the only benefit I'll give to it here is the introduction of it. So, my understanding is that it's going to work in the MLS competition, but if you have 5 Sorare cards of in-season, then you're going to be entered into it as like an additional competition. I think that's a little bit fun. I think it's a little interesting. It's interesting to try. But ultimately, when you come back down to it, they're selling an extra card and they're giving away X, Y, Z. We don't know. It's going to be very hard to predict. Sustainability doesn't go out the window, but again, it's just called into question, whereas before it was very clear. I don't like it. I wouldn't have added it. Okay, on to the next thing. I'll quickly touch on early access launches. Huge success this season. Obviously should carry it on. I'm going to add my own little point here. I love the early access or the opening of packs and possible special editions so much. They should just do it for every single card you purchase. Even after early access, you go in, you pull a card open. Could it be special edition? Could it not be? I would obviously lower it more than less than 10% of chance of getting a special card. But besides that, yes, crack on with it, continue. On to the next update, which is a XP system. And again, really, you'll have arguments for, you'll have arguments against. It's a different way to cut a cake, You're getting it every week. You're getting it for playing them in training. You're getting them for playing in competitions. Now you get them from playing and you can be rewarded them in boxes. There's different elements of it. Yes, a strategy if you get to actually play and accumulate your card and whatever. But ultimately, everyone's going to do the exact same thing, right? You give your XP to your best card. When he's at the max level, you move to the next card. The more money you've got, the more XP you're going to get, the quicker your cards get better. People will complain about that. Again, it's a different way to cut the cake. I like it. It's a bit more strategic. There's cooldowns, less strategic. They're going to give you XP in boxes. Will everyone be happy about it? Absolutely no one will be happy about it. But at the same time, you need filler. You need, you don't have to be ecstatic with every box you get. That's sort of the joy of it. So again, like, something people are going to debate to the hills on whether it's right or wrong. We've gone from 20 levels to 10. It doesn't matter. It's all going to be the same stuff in different dressing. Details to keep in mind. Now, this stuff I do like. I know it's a small thing, but smooth transition. I hear them talking about it's a bit later on, but uniques and how there's less supplies. It's going to take longer to transition. All smart. Trading penalty 50%. It's been there a while. Staying there. Okay, again, if you cut it down 25, maybe that's a bit more trading. I'd like to see that, but I'd like to see it, as I've spoke about before, in different ways where you make the market more liquid. Whatever. Let's move on to the next part. Division structure adjustments. Limited from 5 to 3, rare 4 to 3, super rare 3 to 1, unique remains at 1. I'm going to see so many people debating this. And I've seen people say like, oh, well, if you get Division 1 and you win this, you get loads of essence and you can craft every week and whatever. It doesn't really matter at the same degree. If you have 5 divisions competing or 1 division competing, there's very little difference. You know, good teams are still going to do well, bad teams are still going to do badly, right? You split them up into weeks where small random clubs do well one time and they're going to win, and sometimes their upside's capped. But if that small team does really well and a really big team that consistently does well, like Bayern Munich does well, they win less anyway. Right, okay. 5 might not be in the optimal number, but I didn't really see people complaining about it. The only thing I will say, Super Rare 1 division probably makes a bit of sense just because not that many people are playing it. Fine, I'll try 3. There's upsides, there's downsides. I've worked really hard to get to Division 1 and sustain that. Now I could have done it easier. So many different dynamics people will come at it from, 15% moving up, 50% moving down, whatever. Like, again, it's a big change with nothing really happening, which you might see as a common trend, in my opinion. To be honest, this next change is a bit more substantial in one way, so I think ultimately they're just cutting it. So I think Super Rare and Unique could have 3 in season, 2 out of season. Now everything's going to be 4 and 1. Great. I mean, this is more of an ideology change. It was 3 and 2 to appease people or to encourage people to progress upwards. Didn't really work. So those that do play, you might as well fall into the 4 and 1. Why? Simplicity. If I play limited, rare, super rare, unique, all going to be the same rules. Generally, the more rules you can bring in that are level, easier for people to understand, easier for people to progress. And you get the vice versa of that, which is, well, I had these cards, I was buying them, I was using them, now I can't use them, or next season I can't use them. It's a little bit ambiguous whether these will be introduced next season or in season from what I've been reading online, because the MLS rules have one rule and then the 25-26 rules have different rules. Again, it doesn't really matter. It'd be a 3-month delay. Of course, the longer you get to deal with it, the better it is. But again, it's maybe how it should have been done a couple months ago. I get the fact they've got to try, different aspects of it. They tried to encourage people up the divisions, but if you just say, hey, you require 1 less card to buy, a little bit of premium on, it's not really going to do it. So, again, a change which maybe doesn't really have too much effect on the wider community of how people play. I know some people will be outraged, but that's sort of the aspect of you change one element of anything. Someone's going to be outraged that really focused on it. But ultimately, it's not too big, in my opinion. So the most important aspect of Sorare is rewards, right? Yes and no. I don't actually think Sorare as a business, and I'm happy to hold my hands up if you can prove me wrong here, but I don't think they're giving out more rewards than they previously did. I think it's just being redistributed. It's a bit of a rebalance, really. So no more double rewards. Okay, so if I want a card worth £500 and £500 of cash, I'm now just going to get £1,000, same, or £1,000 of cards. Doesn't really matter. I will say it's a better dynamic. It's probably how it should have been done, but it's not really news. Like I said for myself, when I won the division and I won £2,500 and I got a 5-star box, I didn't care about a 5-star box, whereas someone that just missed out probably would have liked it. So don't get me wrong, it's a good change, probably how it should have been done, but it's a big update, and I'm not seeing anything that's going to really interest me, except for maybe the MLS competition. I will give them that. That is a great addition, and people will love it. But outside of that, nothing that's really going to impress me, nothing that's really going to disappoint me. It's a big, wordy rebalance so far. Happy to be proven wrong in the comments. Please do let me know. Half the reason I make these is to get other people's opinions. One of the worst things you can do as a content creator is be like jammed into your day one thoughts of this is what I've read, this is what I think. The best thing to do is read everyone else's opinions, take a couple weeks, see how it actually affects and come into it. But yeah, things like increased essence distribution, we've seen it go up, we've seen it go down, we're seeing it go slightly back up again. But as you'll learn soon, they're getting rid of rivals, which took up a fair amount of essence anyway, I suspect. So yeah, you're getting rewards of XP. Okay, we knew about that already. People can drill into the prize pool, but ultimately it does not matter if they're not paying out more or less. Like, that's why I really like the cash element, where you can say they're paying 1 million this year, last year they're paying 2 million, that's a cut, or vice versa. They were paying 2 million last year, now they're paying 5 million, that's a gain. For me, I think they're just splitting it differently. 1, 2, 3 divisions. It might have a small effect, people might feel better off. That's a key element, sentiment. But, core gameplay, not going to make a big change. Awards are now going to be automatically claimed, which probably affects 0.01% of Sorare users, so I wouldn't care. But Roy Olivy has been saving his boxes forever, and he knew, and I knew, and all the community knew that they were going to nuke or stop this strategy eventually. So it's quite funny to bring in. Probably just the way they should have done it from the start, ultimately. Like, if you save up all these rewards and card prices going in season to out of season, they drastically fall, and then next season they creep back up or spike back up. Well, everyone's going to save them, and what saves a user takes away from Sorare's revenue and their underlying. So yeah, it's funny. It's a good change, but it's funny that Roy Olivy did eventually get screwed, but he knew he would. So yeah, that is quite funny for me. Essence, they had a little update on Essence, so it's got an expiry now. Now, this actually did surprise me. You no longer have to worry about Essence expiring. You can carry over 550. Surprising, really, really surprising. What does that benefit? I would say it benefits classic cards that can earn Essence, but also in season can earn Essence. It's good for the players. Out of anything, this is something I look at and be like, hey, that could help me. I'm going to hold as much Essence as I can. It's going to give me one in-season card for next season, probably. Yeah, everyone's going to try and probably carry the max in and just go through that. If I was to think of the sustainability aspects, it must be really hard to work out costs and everything else associated to, well, if we let them carry over Essence, how much do we lose in, underlying revenue as a business? But smarter people than me might try and work that out. Anyway, card crafting timelines are adjusted, so there's effectively a 2-week break before you can start crafting. Again, small quality of life update, I'd call this, because if you crafted on day 1, you could get a tier 1 that was just useless, but someone really wanted to buy it. So yeah, a nice quality of life update. The collection game, duplicate card bonuses. So this is for people that want to buy more than 2 of the same player. So, I think Cole Palmer's a good player. I'm going to get 2 of him. I'm going to get a collection bonus on both of them. For me, it's great. It has kind of put me off getting 2 of the top stars. I again don't think it's a huge change because, right, I can get that, but the other side of it, more people will just have the best 5 cards in the game and get bonuses on them. At least without this, once I'd got Palmer and Saka, I can't just keep buying them. I need to go a little bit different. And that works in different ways because, right, Palmer and Saka are the most expensive cards on the game in the Premier League forwards. But there have been times where I've found a really good value player and I want to get as many of him as I can, but it's kind of wasted because I can't use them. Same thing as if you want a super rare and a rare, you no longer can really do that in the new system. So yeah, there was no duplicate players. Now you can get them. It has the benefit of that's fun and it's good. It has the downside of potentially being exploited, as good players will just be ran out more and more. Yeah. As I mentioned before, the MLS is currently the only sort of aspect that's a little bit interesting from my perspective. It has its own competition. It has a sort of threshold thing, which I don't like the idea of, but I understand why people would enjoy playing it. This rivals Last Dance for a pessimistic or just a genuine person. I don't know. For me, and probably only me is what I'm trying to say, like a very unique percentage, actually really like this decision, because I think it showed some proper balls from Sorare to say, we put a lot of effort, a lot of money, and a lot of time into this, and it's not working. Now, for me, it's obvious why it didn't work. I gave a lot of feedback on that. But fine, to draw a line in the sand and say, it was good but not great, as soon as we cut rewards, everyone stopped playing, that takes a lot of balls. So to do that, I'm really impressed with from a company perspective. What's going to come next? Who knows? A brand new casual game mode on its way. I think there's so much potential, was that daily components, card packs, plenty of surprises. That does excite me a bit. Like, it's not aimed at me. Like, I've had someone recently join the game that I know personally, and he had so much fun playing Rivals every day, learning how it plays. That's really who it's designed for and what it should be. It's a good, fun game. But the problem is Rivals became this, how much can we make? Especially for lower or no budget users. It was just an exploitation of, let's play, let's do it. We're not doing it for fun, we're doing it for what we earn. Whereas this new game mode, I hope, like roughly kind of seems like that. It seems like a bit more of a, oh, I'm going to log in, I'm going to have fun on this game. Like, I was kind of thinking of early days of FIFA, where I really enjoyed like squad building and maybe a little bit later squad building challenges. And how FIFA has kind of like changed to the point of like being grindable and a bit like unenjoyable to play. It's a bit more work-like, whereas like early days it was just fun. And that's what Sorare needs. It needs to capture that early days of fun football where, I was in classrooms building teams of different nationalities. Like, you got to have 3 Brazilians, 3 Peruvians and 3 Argentinians to make a South American team, the best possible one you can, and obviously you're going to be limited by different factors. Look, maybe that's me getting carried away, but ultimately, with the licenses, with the names, with everything Sorare's got, there's a lot better they can do than Rivals. And what they need to focus on is not driving revenue, not driving sales, it's driving fun for new users, which over time will convert into long-term playing users that are here forever, like me, like all your other content creators and fans of the game. So yeah, a weird one that people would be sad about. I'm really happy with the decision. And that is pretty much it. And I hope now you can understand my analogy of dice of boxers. They've shaken it up. Some people, their numbers have landed more. Some people, their numbers have landed less. In terms of market perspective, like MLS cards might see a appreciation in price. I'd probably expect a little bit more demand there. Besides that, I mean, maybe people in Super Rare aren't too happy. I can't really see too much else here. Like, it's more of a balance, but a big balance. And I don't hate any of it. I'm not like, they shouldn't have done this. This is awful. But for such a big update, it just seems, not needed, maybe. Because my perspective on this is I've been really enjoying Sorare 2.0. I think it's great. But now you're just going to change from, 5 divisions in Limited to 3. And it's just going to open the door to people complaining and saying, in the old system, I would have won this. Or, there's a threshold for MLS. Why do I not get it playing Premier League? And it's like, a bit unnecessary. But maybe I've got a unique perspective on it. I know there are some nice changes in here. A couple of quality of life adjustments. Some big calls as well. Rivals being cut. XP changing. Yeah, let me know if you think I'm right or wrong here, because obviously you always believe your own opinion. But besides that, check out my opinion on whether you should be buying or selling in-season cards right now with the possible incoming halving in price or winning rewards, whatever comes from it. If you enjoyed this, like, subscribe, and all the best to you. Cheers.